announcements. We had, it's in the humming that if it hasn't arrived, will arrive shortly. We had a secretary, Jonathan Nakai, but he's working full-time in, like our last board meeting, he was headed up to Bishop. And so he had to step down, and he was kind of excited about doing the job, but I'm more excited for him for getting a professional job. Jasmine Rios has stepped in as secretary, and she stepped down as program manager. She put together, and we went over it, an advertisement for a new program manager, and I have not dropped down all the resumes yet. But we're going to have a program manager, hopefully sooner than later. And the program manager was doing what Jasmine has been doing. She'll be running the Snowy Plover project. This one, we actually had an adventure with the Audubon head, the local Lillian Griego, I think it was, and then Stacy, who gave a presentation a couple months ago, and get that program growing. I'm real excited about it. And I thought I knew the best place for it is on the beach at the south end of Torrance Beach. Too narrow of a beach. So my dreams got burst right then and there. The Palos Verde Blue, David Quadhammer gave me a big old notebook about the agreement between this Audubon chapter, the Rolling Hills Prep School, and also the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And I've been able to go through all that documentation, and I'm going to review it again and start getting that program up and running. And this will be fun for everybody because there are Palos Verde Blues in this property that's owned by the school right behind the Rolling Hills Prep down there on PV Drive North at the far eastern end. That was where I got my first really great look at Palos Verde Blues. I ultimately became, I acquired the what they call recovery permit to actually survey them, and I did that for Palos Verdes Peninsula Conservancy. The other one is a YES program, and that's done jointly with PVPLC, Palos Verde Peninsula Land Conservancy. You'd think I'd have it down by now. I worked for them for 10 years. And that takes high school students, and they work helping restore habitat and get credits for it. And it goes on to their college resume. So it's another really nice program. But I'm thinking with the special status species, snowy plover and Palos Verde blue, we could actually have walks where people can see them at the time of year when they're out and around. You know, we won't interfere with the critters, but we hopefully enable people to see them. So that's coming up by January. Let's see, we'll have a meeting in November. I don't know how much I'll have going forward at that point in time, but definitely by January. We need a vice president. We haven't had one for quite some time. I was vice president and stepped up into being president. You can listen to what the vice president's going to be doing. It fills in for the president, so you have to run the meeting. I did miss a meeting because I screwed up a camping trip date. And so that happened, when was it? August? And I'm going to be definitely highly involved in the Palos Verde Blue Butterfly project because I understand all the Fish and Wildlife Service docs and stuff like that. But I'm a little bit lost when it comes to snowy plover. So we'll have the program manager help with that. And the vice president work with the program manager and give the person more support and stuff like that. So we're looking for somebody who's got a background in environmental issues. A degree isn't necessary, but one will be helpful because that means you've had all that classwork in your, under your wing. So we'll be dealing with that. And I don't know if we'll have an announcement by November. Wouldn't that be nice? I don't know. So the one thing I am doing, the first full weekend in November, so that's 2, 3, 4, and 5 coming home on the 5th. I'll be going to the Audubon National Conference. They hold these every 2 or 3 years. Anybody know? It's going to be in Denver. Last time I was in Denver, it was for a wedding, and the couple decided to get married in mid-Denver. And both sets of parents are going, Denver in December? What were you two thinking about? But it was cold, but one night it snowed, but still we had a good time. And that's what I have for now. Does anybody have any questions to ask me or about what our chapter is doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, question is now regarding the board elections, like first I need to fill out the form to submit into.
I'll contact you.
And then also like also still do have to pay their due to make.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
Because that's like that too with the South Bay Runners Club.
Okay, so I'll keep that in mind. Send me an email. Andrew, when you get home, send me an email.
So will you be able to email me the board application? For the.
Yeah, maybe not tomorrow, but I will. That's why I asked you to send me an email and I'll just keep it.
Yeah,
up.
and secondly, also like how long do we do, is there like a certain time frame I have to be able to maintain a membership in order to be part of the board, like,
Always keep your membership going.
or at least 2 years?
It supports the organization.
And then also, can I pay membership ahead of time?
You can, it just gives Julian and I more secretarial duties, keeping track of that. Although Audubon National does keep track of that quite well. So when I get ready to email out something to all of you, I download the membership list that National Audubon keeps. Now they're always a month behind. And I haven't figured out exactly when they update it. I think it's like maybe when they get around to it. But right now, for the Hummin that's coming out, it was from September. So it's a little bit behind. I want to integrate what we have people here going and preferences and stuff like that. And I've been turning it over my head. Was thinking about sticking with Excel files, but I've had a lot of Access database experience. I'll probably go to that so I can make sure I don't do any double mailings or any of that. Any other questions? You had your question.
Okay.
I'll catch you later. So I want to start the program. Oh, this is a little bit later than I wanted to. So this is the moment of levity that I'm bringing in. I don't know. This book is from 1988. Have any of you ever heard or read the Field Guide to Little Known and Seldom Seen Birds? Okay. I was reading this on the boat going over to Catalina and was in stitches. So there we go. And that's next up on the list. And they've got the people that endorsed their book. And my favorite endorsement was, this book is a must in the field and it's difficult to lose. So here we go. At each meeting, we do a different bird. And this is the warbling cormorant. And what I particularly like, what they had to say is, well, it says here, an average sized dark bird, the warbling cormorant, can be safely separated from its close relatives only by its call and its inflatable throat pouch. It's restricted to coastal regions and only seen on foggy days.
I'm sorry, it's not sharing. Hold on.
Uh-oh. Come on in, have a seat. So the observation hint on this warbling cormorant is
There. You got, oh,
on foggy days. Well, it's mostly seen on foggy days. On sunny days, wait for a foggy day and listen for the call. Once pinpointed, wait for the fog to clear to list your observation. And specialized equipment here is state-of-the-art directional microphone. And so this is our warbling cormorant. Now, of late, I live in Redondo Beach. We've had fog banks coming in. So now I can keep my ear tuned for a warbling cormorant that likely sounds an awful lot like foghorn. And we can hear them from our house. Next slide.
this is the problem I had before.
Okay. The next slide is warning you that this meeting will be recorded and everybody online. And what Prevail, our webmaster, does is he takes care, he scans it for flubs and stuff like that, and then puts it on the website. And it's really, really nice because he has a little picture with each program. And it should be really easy. He's also doing our new website. So I think we should be fully up and running in January. And so, are you ready, Kim?
I think I am. We're gonna try stop share. Let me stop this share.
Okay, so what do you think of my moment of levity? Good? I'm retired.
I got that. We're
We
gonna,
should put this
we're gonna have to share screen again. Think that this is gonna do it. Hopefully this will do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's your speaker.
Yep. Okay. Can everybody hear me here and on Zoom? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I will speak a little louder. Up to you. Up to you. If you can see it, it's fine.
The door's open.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to speak today. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties here. This is new to me to do a hybrid meeting of Zoom and also in person, but I'm really happy to be doing this in person because I have done a couple of talks on Zoom and it's just like talking into a blank Ethernet so that you don't know where you're talking to. So I do want to make this somewhat interactive, so I will, if you have questions or want to have something along the way, I will answer if I can. So my talk is, let me tell you briefly about my talk. It's from Arachnophobia to Arachnophilia, my journey through the Spiderverse. And that's because I used to be very afraid of spiders. And now, as my husband, who's in the back there, will attest to, as I walk out the door and I see a spider, I talk baby talk to them and I say, oh, it's a little spider. So tonight, I hope that if any of you are afraid of spiders, you'll become less so afraid. If you're already not afraid, maybe you will talk baby talk to your spiders too and have your favorite spiders. And this is not, oh, we are having No, we're having a new technical problem that we weren't having before. Yes, now, okay. So the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know. I am a naturalist. I am not an expert on spiders. I photograph nature and I kind of cover the gambit of everything that's in local to our area. So my knowledge has come from my own observations, and also I have taken some classes with some experts. I think that Lenny Vincent has come and spoken here in the past. He's an arachnologist. My friend Blaine Hebert is an arachnologist, and Mike Martinez, who was at my house yesterday, he is also an arachnologist. So I've learned a lot from them, and I took one of Lenny's classes. So what I know from some reading from them, and mostly from my own observations. So that's what I'm going to share today. In case you can't read the other one, it says, I know nothing about the subject, but I'm happy to give my expert opinion. I think there is something innate about fear of spiders. If you've ever walked into a web, those giant orb webs that are out now, you go out to take out the trash or something like that, and you walk into those webs, the immediate reaction is just flailing of the arms. And so you just suddenly, as it says here, turn into a karate master as you're trying to get that web off you. And that's kind of an innate, I won't call that a fear, but it's just, oh, something's touching me. So we do have some innate response to spiders. But as children, and that's me as an early naturalist, always be on the lookout for the presence of wonder. And I love that quote, and it's from E.B. White, who wrote Charlotte's Web, that there's so many wonderful things. And so as a child, children go up and they'll pick up spiders and try to eat them or, you know, touch them. And the parents are always saying, no, don't do that. And so we learn a lot to be afraid. And so if we can learn to be afraid, then we can learn to be not afraid. As children, our first depictions of spiders are the evil bad guy who's eating the beautiful butterflies. Yeah. And then we have movies that tell us to be afraid of spiders, like Arachnophobia and all these other wonderful movies. And we learn to be spiders from headlines, killer spiders and found in Hell House and attacked my little girl. And I bet everybody who here knows somebody who has a story of how they were bitten by a brown recluse or a black widow spider and their whole arms, well, you know, so there are just tons of stories, and we build up this fear. And then we try to get to the next step of spiders, of you see the spider in the house and it's like, put down that shoe, people taking a gun to it. I mean, that's a little extreme. And it says, hi, nice spider. Let me pet you with my foot. Good spider, dead spider. And the other one says, oh, I promise to eat flies and keep to myself. Oh, dear God, is that just, did you just spray me with furniture polish? So we go to extremes, and these memes then continue to perpetuate that fear of spiders. This is actually a true story. This was a true story where somebody actually set their house on fire while trying to kill spiders. I don't think they set their house on fire to try to kill the spiders, but they were using fire to kill some spiders, and then it set the whole house on fire. So we don't have to go to that extreme. So keep calm. It's just a spider. So it's time to face our fears and to engage with the spiders with curiosity. And that's me. A friend of mine took that photo with looking at the spider. So do we not like spiders because they have so many legs? And some of it is, we call them insects. Sometimes people call them bugs, but they really are a separate thing. Spiders are spiders, insects are insects. Insects have 3 body parts, 6 legs, wings, and antenna, And spiders only have two body parts, the cephalothorax and the abdomen, 8 legs, no wings, no antenna. But is it all the legs that we are afraid of? Spiders do not have antenna nor wings. This is to drive home the point. No, they don't. And as kids were taught to draw spiders, somebody did this drawing, and it's a step-by-step that you can engage your kids with spiders in a friendly way with a friendly smile. And then they have all those legs attached to the abdomen. No, that's not right. The legs are attached to the cephalothorax. So this is a spider, the top of the spider and the bottom of the spider, and you can see that all the spider legs come out of the top part, and the abdomen is for digestion and eggs and things like that. And so we're terrified of things with multiple legs, but we're not terrified of crabs, usually decapods that have 10 legs, crabs and lobsters. In fact, we like lobster a lot, usually. And then you have things like the roly-polies, and kids like roly-polies, and you say, oh, it's a cute little roly-poly. These are actually sow bugs and pill bugs. I won't go into details on those, but you know, they have a lot of legs. And then millipedes have lots of legs also. These are all arthropods, as are spiders, but they're not spiders. Spiders are in their own group. The crabs are crustaceans. They're isopods, yeah, crustaceans. And then the others are, oh, it just suddenly escaped me. Yeah, centipedes are centipedes. It'll come to me after this presentation. I'll tell you at 3 in the morning. Okay, so are we really afraid of too many legs? And because this is a bird group, I have to throw in some gratuitous bird pictures. This is a black-necked stilt with its babies under it. And I love the multi-legged birds. So is it that they have so many eyes? Spiders have multiple eyes, you know, where are they looking? Well, I can move my eyes in my head, and I can look up, and I can look to the side, and I can look left, and I can look right and look down. But spiders can't do that. Their eyes are fixed in the head. Actually, the back of the lens of some spiders can move a bit, but the eye itself doesn't move in the head. And so how does nature solve that vision problem? Again, another bird shot. Birds can't move their eyes in the sockets, so they move their heads around to look at you, to give you the evil eye. Yeah, watch the drones over. And then insects, because spiders are not insects. Many insects, not all of them, have these very complex eyes. It's called ommatidium. The eye is a complex eyes, and it has so many different lenses, and they have those big eyes, and it's got hundreds of lenses there that it can be seeing in multiple directions. They also sometimes have simple eyes at the top of their head. But spiders only have those simple eyes. But depending on the family, and there's such diversity of spiders. There are so many different families, and I'm not going to show you all tonight. But one of the things about spiders with so many eyes is the arrangement of eyes is used in identifying the family of the spider. So different spiders, the ones on the right side, the third one down, that's those big eyes that I had of that spider in the beginning, the jumping spider, because they're hunters, and so they have big eyes. But the other ones may have different arrangements of the eyes, and it's only to give them a big field of vision. So are we afraid of fangs on spiders or on my cat? These are not the fangs that I'm pointing to here. These are the chelicera, and that's what spiders have. but the fang is actually at the bottom of that. That's where the fang actually is. So sometimes you see those big fangs on the spider, but the fang may be actually a smaller part at the bottom. You've seen these in your yard, many of you, those green fanged spiders, but those are the chelicera. The fangs are much smaller and at the bottom of those. There's a family called Arachnophobia, and what they have, they're called long-jawed spiders, and you can see why they're called long-jawed spiders. They have really long jaws. Those are the chelicera that are really long looking. So it's really maybe not the fangs directly we're afraid of, but venom. And yes, most spiders have venom. Almost all have venom. And brown widows, this is the Western brown widow, native to our area. And yes, they do have venom that can have medical problems. Spiders have usually one of two different types of venom. Venom that either attacks the nervous system or can cause tissue damage. We do have brown widows here, probably on the PV Peninsula. You have more of them because they're more in the rural areas. They used to be around our homes, but you don't see them as often now. We have the Western black widow on the left side and the brown widow on the right side of the screen. And they have different types of eggs. The egg sac for the black widow is a round ball, and the egg sac for the brown widow, did I say the brown widow? For the black widow is a round ball, smooth, and the brown widow is spiky. Brown widows were introduced here, as many of our spiders are around here. They come in through ports. They've been brought here over the years, through transportation and vegetation. But the brown widows are a relatively new occurrence here. And they seem to have taken over for the black widows in our local yards. So a lot of people mistake the two. You can tell the difference because the brown widows have kind of banded legs, and the shape of the abdomen at the hourglass at the bottom of its abdomen is larger on one side, and the black widow is more even. And I certainly don't want to give medical advice. I do suggest not touching them but the brown widows you see more often. They make their webs like under your patio furniture. Black widows like small dark spaces. And if you watch a widow spinning its web, it will drop down to make threads. And so you can see them drop suddenly, but they're not after you. They just kind of in their own space. So yeah, I used to be terrified of black widows, and now I'm less so. I go up to them and I photograph them, as you can see. These are all my photos. So that's the black widow.
And then when you get really dry, you don't see the black widows, but you see a whole lot of brown widows.
Yeah, I don't know, but it seems like the brown widows have been out competing the black widows. The Museum of Natural History is actually doing a project and a study and I've contributed to it, photographing the prey of the black widow and the brown widow to see if there's overlap of them or why this is occurring. I live in Long Beach, and around my house, I never see black widows anymore. When I first moved in, I did, but I don't see them now. It's only brown widows. And there are fewer of those lately too. Here, the spider on the left is a male widow spider. And I think everybody knows the name widow spider because what's the myth or the story of the widow? Why is it called a widow spider? Is because she eats the male after I'm trying to think of the appropriate word, but after mate, thank you. After they mate, that she will eat him. And yeah, that's possible. Sometimes he'll wait until she's eating something else so that he can slip away before he mates with her. But there are actually some spiders that actually throw themselves into the mouths of the female because they want to be eaten, because they've served their purpose, they've mated, that's only their purpose. And now if the female eats them, she's got some extra protein and she's likely to have good, healthy spiderlings. I don't know about that's the case with the widow spiders, but there are some that do that. But you can see that he's much smaller. Did somebody say something?
Yeah, Kim, I'm sorry, Kim, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was hoping you might repeat the questions because on Zoom, we can't hear the questions.
Oh,
From the
okay.
people in the audience there, we can't hear the questions being asked.
Okay. There wasn't actually a question, but there was a comment earlier that she noticed that in wet seasons, there are more black widows and in dry seasons, more brown widows. That was a personal observation from her yard.
Thank you.
So thank you for reminding me to repeat the questions or comments. But we have other widows in our area that are not the black widow and not the brown widow. And these are very common species. And you may have seen particularly the one on the right. Again, one of the ones that has just recently been introduced into our area and has spread everywhere. So I used to see the false widows on the left. They usually hung out lower. The noble false widow on the right, I see up higher generally, but I've seen so many more of those. And that's the ones that I see all the time. They don't have an hourglass underneath, and their back, the dorsal side of their abdomen is patterned. But those are two widow spiders in the same family, but are not the real widows. And I know that one of the questions is, well, are they venomous also? And as I said, many spiders are venomous, but they don't necessarily have fangs that are able to deliver a bite to humans, because they're so small and they can't pierce your skin. Some of these could bite and could have some sort of effect if you've got an allergy. Certainly that could be the case. I was recently stung by a bee, my very first time, so I'm still whining about it. But my arm got swollen, but aside from that, a little Benadryl cleared it up. But also we always hear the stories of people who have been bitten by spiders. And unless you actually see the spider, you don't really know. I get welts from mosquito bites, and there are other insects that could do that. If you're in the garden, thorns, plants, there's some plants that have irritation to them. So there's a lot of things that could cause you to have skin irritations. And of course, see your doctor if you have any medical concern, but or bacteria, but most of the time, spiders are not a problem. But we are talking about the venomous ones with the black widow and the fear right now. But these are not the black widows. And so the black widow, I think, is the only one that's really harmful in our area. We even have even smaller cobweb spiders. These are all cobweb spiders. These aren't widows, but they're cobweb spiders, and they're very small. The house spider, and a lot of people report them as black widows, but they're just tiny little cobweb spiders. They do live in cobwebs too. So if you see cobwebs around your yard, it may not be the widow that you fear. And these others, Theridion. And these are all of my pictures of brown recluse spiders. Every one I've taken, and if I have seen one, I would have taken a picture. These spiders, people have heard of brown recluses as a dangerous spider. And people around here always say they were bitten by a brown recluse. This is a map from my Naturalist that shows observations of brown recluse spiders. You notice California, we're kind of a ways from where they are. They're an East Coast thing. So when you hear all these stories of brown recluses, and your neighbors tell you, oh, I've got a brown recluse, you can tell them, check the range map. There is something called a desert recluse, and this is also a map from iNaturalist, a lot fewer observations. And these are people who are actually going out and looking for these things most of the time that are in the desert. They're related to the brown recluse, but they're not the brown recluse. And those are my pictures of the brown recluse also. You never see those. This spider is common in our area, and you see how it kind of has its legs out. And because it's related to birds, it's called the feather leg spider. It's not related to birds, but they have these feathering on their legs, which is one of the things that helps to identify them. These spiders have no venom. There's no venom. They capture their prey by wrapping it tightly with silk, but they don't have any venom. So not all spiders have venom.
We have a question
Yes.
in the chat. Is the brown, I don't believe this was asked out loud, is the brown widow the only common spider with banded legs in SoCal?
No, a lot of spiders have banded legs, and the black widow does not have banded legs. The brown widow does, but sometimes that brown widow can be so dark you really can't see the bands. But the main thing to identify the brown widow and the black widow spider, which are the only two in the genus who are over here, is the hourglass, the red hourglass on the underside of the spider. It's Halloween now, and people are going to have decorations up, and it's going to have it on the back of the spider, but the hourglass is on the abdomen. And so that's the only way to see that. But we do have a lot of banded spiders, and I think we'll see some as we go forward. Yes, it's on the ventral side. And they usually hang out in their webs kind of upside down so you can see it. Okay, spider webs. It says if we pull this off, we'll eat like kings, a Larson comic. Spider webs, I talked about the spider eyes being used to identify spiders. Sometimes you can identify the spider just by the web. You don't even need to see the spider to know at least the family. The one on the top left, has anybody not seen one of these recently? Those are the orb weavers. The one on the right, that lacy web, that's a special spider, and we'll see the spider later, but you can tell that that spider, that's the only one in our area that's making a web like that. On the bottom left is a sheet web spider. You've probably seen funnel webs, or on your bushes, you have all these sheets, different family of spider. And then on the bottom right, I've got cobweb spiders that make those very funny looking mess of a web. That's one of those house spiders, little ones. So let's look at some of the orb weavers. Orb weavers is a family of spiders, and there's quite a few of them. It's probably one of our most diverse in this area. These are the two that you're seeing now, and particularly those spotted orb weavers, the Neoscona crucifera, or I'm going to mispronounce a lot of these Latin names, but the one on the left is the western spotted orb weaver, the Neoscona wakansis. Has anybody gone birding at Willow Street in Long Beach? I know that's in your Count Circle area and is a really good during bird migration. If you had, and if anybody on the phone has gone birding there, as you walk up the trail there, those western spotted orb weavers are all over those bushes as you come up. And then the spotted orb weavers are making those big orb webs. So those are the ones we're seeing right now.
You encounter beautiful webs, but you accidentally run into it or you get with your trowel or whatever. How much energy does it cost the spider to repair its web?
The question is, when you walk into one of those spider webs and you knock it down or disturb it, how much energy does it take to, is it taking away from the spider? some of these spiders will expect damage every night. Some of them will even take them down at night and rebuild them the next day. So there is a demand that it's taking on them, and that's why they have to catch as many critters as they can in order to have that, because they're doing it actually right now for not just to build the web, but also because they're going to have their spiderlings. So this is in preparation for their cycle. So it does take energy, but if you walk into one of the webs, you probably have not permanently damaged that spider, and it will build another one. And these ones, especially these spotted orb weavers, will they'll come out at night to feed, and during the day you may still see the remnants of the web, but then they'll go off into a corner at night. So you'll see them when they're building it, and even at night they may be waiting in the corner and then come down and get their prey when they feel something on their web.
So I don't have to.
The question was, do you have to feel bad when you damage the spider web? Yes, you should. The poor little spider. Yes.
Debbie has a Neoscona crucifera on their porch right now.
Okay. We have a question here too. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And they come the same time every year.
Yes. Yes, that's when they're going to have their babies, and then the babies are going to overwinter as little spiderlings, or some spiders will do it as still as eggs and egg sac, and then they'll emerge as tiny little spiderlings later on in the year. Did I repeat the question there, which was we see them at this time of year, and are they there just because that's when they're going to reproduce? And that's the answer. I think it depends on the species, but most of these die at the end of the period. These are two other species. The Uranius gemma, that doesn't really have a common name. I think some of the common names, are very arbitrary. But that one, these are in a genus called Arachnophobia. And Arachnophobia often have these humps on their shoulders. So you can see it's got like bulging shoulders, particularly on the Uranius gemma, you see that. The Uranius andrewsi is a big spider. That's a large spider, and I do not see them often. Otherwise, I'd have more pictures of them. How large is large? The size of a quarter, a little bit more than a quarter. Because most spiders are tiny little things, but that one can be about the size of a quarter. Argiope or Argiope, depending who you speak to, will pronounce it one way or another. We have 3 species in our area, and these I see not around the house. These are in more of our wild areas. The banded garden, and you see more of these towards summer than fall, but they make an interesting web. These are sometimes called writing spiders, and perhaps Charlotte's web was one of this genus or similar. Do you see these white lines in there? That's called stablamentum, and it's not really known why they do those. They may have some UV properties that birds can see them, so it keeps the bird from messing up their web, so the bird doesn't have to feel bad about breaking up their web. What? Eat the spiders. Yeah, they do eat spiders, but the spider also will hang in the middle of this line, and so sometimes it provides some sort of level of camouflage. So I don't think there's a definitive answer as to why they make them, but this particular genus is known for making those that stablamentum, and they stay in the middle of their web and during the day. So you'll see them during the day in the middle of their webs. Really beautiful spiders. These are beautiful. The silver garden orb weaver, the Argiope argentata, that one I see the most frequently. And if you see cactus along the coast, they're almost always there. So if you're birding at Terranea or around those trails or anywhere along the coast, look in the cactus and you might see those. Banded garden spider, I see those in grassy areas. So maybe at White Point, you might see those. Yellow garden spider, you might even see in your own yard. But the two on the outside, I rarely see. Maybe it's because I just don't go to their habitats as much. But those are beautiful spiders, and they just hang out in the middle of their web. We have these are interesting orb weavers. These are very tiny spiders, and they have two similar types of characteristics. The trash line orb weaver, you can see it makes an orb web, and then there's a line of trash in the center. Do you see that on the left side? There's like junk in there. Those are the bodies of its victims, and the spider, because he will be hiding in that line. So they call it a trash line because it looks like trash in the middle of the web. The one on the right is very similar. It also has like some trash in it, but it's called Metapyra. And you can tell the Metapyra because of the way the web is constructed, is that it has the orb, but behind it is where it has this line of trash. So it's got this whole structure to it, to the web. So you can see those. So if you look in your bushes, you might see a spider web with a little bit of trash and you don't see the spider. The spider's probably in there. It's just a very tiny spider who's in that trash line. These are really cool spiders. They're orb weavers, bolus spider. So we're going to talk about them a little bit. First of all, they mimic bird poop because things don't like to eat bird poop. So if they're on a leaf, that coloration is going to have them be left alone. So that's what it's using for camouflage. And one of the really cool things and why they're called bolus spiders is that these female bolus spiders will put down a thread and at the end a little globule with a pheromone in it that smells like a female moth. And so the male moths will come to that pheromone at the end of it. And it looks like the bolos that the Mexican cowboy, or the South American cowboys use those bolos. And so she sends down this bolo and she will grab, then the spiders, the moths will come in looking for the female moth and she will grab them. So a really cool spider. On the right, she's caught the moth. I don't have a picture of the bolus yet. I don't see these spiders that often, but they're really cool. I just saw one on Signal Hill. I think Bettina's on the line, and she was with me, and we saw this spider. Oh, there is? Oh, cool. Good. Take pictures of it. Look to see if
There
you can
is
find
what?
that. I'm sorry. There's a spot. The spider is across. There's one across the street here. He said that there's a bolus spider across the street. And, oh, it's got 5 egg cases hanging above. Oh, okay. I got to come back during the day and see your bolus spiders. I'll check with you later as to where specifically it is. These are the funnel weavers. This is a different family of spider, which is the Agelenidae. And the ones on the top, the webs on the top and the spider on the top on the right, those are Hololena. And depending on who you talk to, there's a couple of species, and you can't really tell the species unless you look at the genitalia. But I've been told by one of the experts that they're Hololenocerta, and somebody else says, well, you really can't tell. So there's a lot of controversy with that, but they're funnel weavers, and they make these sheet webs, and so the spider will be in a corner at the edge of the web. So if you see the web and you don't see the spider, look in the corner, and you might see it. Yes, each one of those webs in that picture is a different spider. And then on the bottom, these are also in the same family. These are Arachnophilia aperta. They're these large, you've probably seen the large webs that are in the grasses down on the ground, and they have these big holes in them where the spider is, and that's these grass spiders. This is the one that I said makes that really lacy web. These are relatively new to our area from Australia. Bedumna longinqua, sometimes they call it the gray house spider. And now I see them all over the place. But that web is very distinctive. And then we have wolf spiders. Wolf spiders don't make webs for hunting their prey. They prowl for their prey. So they're running around and looking for their prey that way. They hunt them down. So not all spiders, if you ask children what they've learned in school, is spiders make webs, and the spiders live in the web. Like birds make nests and birds live in nests. It's not the case. They have a different function, and not all birds do the same things. So spiders, not all spiders make webs. And the wolf spider does use silk for its egg case, and it will make its egg case. If you look at this, these spiders are known for carrying their egg cases around with them. And that's what that gray mass is at the tip of the abdomen. That's actually the egg sac of the spider. This spider I've seen in more open areas. These ones I've seen particularly in the Santa Ana Mountains, and I suspect on the peninsula you may have these also. This is another wolf spider. These two spiders are the same species, and one looks very different from the other. And the reason why it looks that way is the one on the right is a mother, and those are all her spiderlings on her back. And that's something of wolf spiders, is they carry their egg sac, and then they carry their spiderlings on their back until they're safe and old enough to venture out on their own. I don't think she feeds. I mean, the spiders don't feed them, but in the area they'll crawl off and get little things. This is a woodlouse hunter. You've got your pillbugs. So any place where you see your pillbugs, like under a log, you're likely to see one of these spiders, because that's what they eat. Fearsome looking jaws, but they're not after you. They're after the woodlice. They run away. Most spiders run away quickly, and particularly these. If you lift up a log, spiders are out of there. They just want to get out of there. This is another spider that's really cool looking. It's got these long legs. This is a different family, Chiracanthidae. And this is a common spider in our area. They do make a little bit of a web that they hide in as their retreat. And everybody sees this spider around your house, these long-legged cellar spiders. A couple of things about these. One is that if you go near them, they will flail so that you get confused by them, and may even spin. So if you see one, get close and make it spin, and it will perform for you. Yes, sometimes, and these ones will eat other spiders. So if you don't like spiders, then you kind of like this spider because it eats the other spiders. But sometimes people call these daddy long legs, but technically they're not the daddy long legs. Daddy long legs is a different type of arthropod. It's not even a spider. The one on the left, even though it has 8 legs, it's an arachnid, but it's not a spider. And that's the true daddy long legs, the harvestman. So if you're talking to somebody who really cares about this, they'll get upset that you've called the other one a daddy long legs. Sometimes the people called the crane fly think that there are daddy long legs, kind of a generic name, but that's a fly. That's not even a spider or an arachnid.
Oh, I have another question.
Uh-huh.
The daddy long legs, I've seen it in our house.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. The question that we've gotten or comment is that she often finds the daddy long legs, which I assume is actually the other spider, in her bathtub or in the house, and she wanted to know, can they live outside? Because she takes them carefully and puts them outside. So I commend you for, just take them outside. Yes, they do live outside. If you have any boxes like your meter boxes, you'll find a lot of them in there. They are around elsewhere too. So yes, I carefully take all my spiders, photograph them first, and then I take them outside. No, I think you can just put them out there and they'll find their way.
Kim,
These are, yes.
I'm sorry, I raised my hand, but I was told by my entomology professor that there are indoor spiders and outdoor spiders. And cellar spiders like to be indoors. And I employ my cellar spiders in my kitchen to eat up my ant scouts. So they position themselves right by where the ants are coming in, and they start picking off all the ants. And so then when the ants aren't coming back, they eventually stop coming in there because none of their friends are coming back. So I leave my cellar spiders in the house and they do a great job.
Yeah, I sometimes will leave 1 or 2 cellar spiders, but I have no trouble with putting them outside. And I have seen them outside. Yes, I mostly, when you say indoors, did everybody hear what her comments? Okay. When you have them indoors, as I said, they might be in a meter box. It might be in your garage. So it will be in a somewhat sheltered space, but I see them in my wood piles outside. So they are in perhaps a more protected area, but they're outdoors. They can be, yes, they live outdoors as well as indoors, but there's a lot of spiders that I have indoors. That's a whole another story and a whole nother project of all my indoor insects. These are crab spiders, different family of spiders. We have all this incredible diversity of spiders, and these can change colors, and you often see them on flowers. Now, the other spiders we said use webs to trap their prey. The wolf spiders go chasing their prey. These ones are lay-in-wait predators. They just sit in the flower, look like the flower, and wait for something to come along, and then they'll grab it. So they're ambush predators. Very pretty little spider. Looking in your daisies. In fact, I think some of these I shot over here at Madrona Marsh. This is one of my favorite spiders. This is family of spiders, the lynx spiders. They have these very spiky legs. And I became very personally attached to this family of spiders because in my yard for a while, I had these spiders. And you can see they're called green lynx, but they come in multiple colors. They're yellowish, pinkish, or green. But what I particularly liked is I had this female, which is on the left, and the male spider, which is on the right. And you can tell that it's male spider because they have, all male spiders have these things called palps. And it looks like boxing gloves at the end of their palps. And so the males have these big balls at the end of their palps, and they are their sex organ. They use those to take to the female. So they pick up a little sperm with it, and then they put it into the female. So the males have those big palps. So I had male and female lynx spiders, usually more females than males. And right there, I'm pointing to the end, the swollen palp. Actually, the arachnologists will look at them under the microscope because that can help identify the species. Some of these species are easy to identify, like we can identify birds easily, except for when it comes to empids, and you have to look at them a little bit more closely. Well, they look at the genitalia of spiders because it's a lock and key system that the male fits exactly to the female.
So
Helps?
no, do they have on the base of their legs little pores where the sperm can be transferred into?
The question is, where on the female is it at the base of the legs? It's actually right below her cephalothorax on her abdomen is where the female genitalia is.
Randy
and
Harwood.
I'm sorry,
Um,
what?
Randy Harwood just asked in the chat, we used to have crab and lynx spiders in our yard, but haven't seen them for a number of years. Is that due to the type of plants we have or something else?
That's an excellent question. I don't know, because I used to have these green lynx and I have not had the green lynx in quite a few years. And so I'm very saddened by that. I don't know if it's just the plants or they have years where they're more prevalent, or whether the other spiders coming in, like the brown widows coming in, or any of the other spiders have disrupted their pattern. But yeah, excellent question. I don't know. I miss my green lynx spiders. But I noticed that the females were starting to get fat, and you can see this female on the left was, and I was thinking, okay, she's just eating a lot. And so they'll eat all kinds of things that came into my garden, like little skippers or bees. You notice the bee on the right, and the legs of the spider are wrapped around it. But on that bee, there are these little flies. And those are called freeloader flies, because when the spider has come in and killed the bee and is feasting on it, these flies come in and start feasting on the bee. And you would think, oh, flies, they're in danger of that spider. Those flies were annoying that spider. That would land on the leg of the spider, and the spider would flick them off, because the spider really isn't interested in the fly. Like we could always think, oh, spiders and flies, but it's not. It's more specific than that. They do have some restrictions and things that they prefer to eat. So that's what those flies were. And it was really cool to watch this whole process of my lynx spiders. One day I saw her spinning this white flat disc. And then I noticed her building it up. And I noticed it was her egg sac. And so these fat spiders, which were gravid, after eating a lot of protein and having mated with that male, were starting to create egg sacs. And you can see on the right, her spinnerets spinning 3 threads there to create that egg sac. And then she filled it with these bright orange legs. And you see that she's pretty skinny there. That's because she's laid all the eggs into the egg sac. And then the egg sac is sealed up and starts to get hardened. Those are the eggs on the right side. And then she protects that egg sac. And she sat on top of that egg sac for, I don't know, quite a few weeks, it seemed. I don't know exactly how long, but she sat there protecting the egg sac. Great maternal instincts. And this particular spider, because we saw that the other one, the wolf spider, carried her eggs under her abdomen, and then the babies on the back. This one actually opens the egg sac for the spiderlings to get out. And on the right, you can see some of the spiderlings starting to emerge. And here are the spiderlings, these tiny, tiny little spiders. And through the next year, I would see them in my yard as tiny little spiders dispersing in my yard. On the right, kind of hanging upside down, is one of the spiderlings. And what it's doing is molting its exoskeleton, because that's how arthropods, they have these exoskeletons. In order to grow, they will shed their skin, and they use gravity to help pull them out of the skin. So it's going to grow, gets bigger, gets too big for its skin, and it starts to shed it, and then have the new skin harden. So that's one of the babies doing that. Spiders will molt between like 5 to 10 times before they're mature. And once they're mature, most spiders don't molt. So that was my favorite set of spiders, and really got me into observing them closely and enjoying the spiders. There are a couple of other spiders in that same family, the striped lynx. I'm always happy when I see them because I don't see them often, and the western lynx. And then one of the cutest set of spiders are the jumping spiders. They have those big eyes, and those big eyes, those eyes in front, because they track down their prey. And so they've got big eyes, and they can jump. And so everybody's terrified of a spider that can jump. But these spiders are very small. This one jumped onto the camera lens. And so you can see the size of these jumping spiders. We saw this one. There's this one genus called no, little fuzzy cute monsters. He's saying that they look like spiders for a video game he plays. And you know, Phidippus audax, that's the one. Oh, okay. In fact, actually, that's a good point. A lot of artists will use spiders and insects in developing their monsters, but it's such a shame because they're not little monsters, they're just cute little things. So these Phidippus are known for their green chelicera. This is the back of it, and you may have seen these in your garden. The one on the right is a mature adult. The one on the left is immature, so they're orange when they're young. Looks kind of like a Halloween face or something. And then on the right is the adult. But there are other spiders in that same genus with the same beautiful teal chelicera. What are they jumping at? Tiny little insects. It may be a skipper that's on the ground. It may be could be another little spider. Could be, you know, tiny little insects. Immature insects. Yeah, there are some spiders that specialize in ants, but ants have formic acid, and so they are preyed upon by special things. Like some birds will eat ants, but some won't. So there are special on ants. We'll talk about ants another day. The video game calls them arachnotrons. Okay, so because they're based on arachnids. These Phidippus jumpers are beautiful red, so they stand out. This is another one. You can just make out the green chelicera on the spider on the left, and they're cute. They are cute little fuzzy things. Purpose of hairs. Some of them is sensing, so they have like sensory organs, and some species. I don't know on all of them, but many of them do have those hairs because they keep dusting things off their body and sensory stuff.
Jumping spiders dancing.
Oh, mating. The mating behavior is just
Really fun.
the comment is that there's videos online of the jumping spiders dancing, and that's kind of their mating behavior. They do all these little shimmies and really great. Look them up. This is the gray wall jumper. I see these a lot as I walk out of the house on my stucco. Very common jumping spider. Different genus, but they're still in the same family.
Janet Gardner asks, so jumping spiders don't make webs, they jump on their prey?
Yes, correct. They don't jump, they don't make webs, they jump on their prey. But they just still use silk for like egg sacs and for things like that, and maybe for traveling. I've also seen jumping spiders do that. They make traveling lines between plants, and so they can use that. And then this is a California trapdoor spider. These are larger spiders, and I've only seen this one. I know that Bob Allen was here recently and gave a talk, and he's the one who helped find this trapdoor spider for me, because I had really wanted to see one. Trapdoor spiders are in more remote areas, but I do it because they use silk to line their tunnel. So their whole tunnel, they don't use the web to catch their prey, but they sit inside a tunnel, and you can see it has a door that looks like a little U shape and then opens up, and then the spider comes out. It'll hunt at night, but it's got all that silk inside the tunnel, and that can help protect the spider from weather and moisture, and it will live in the tunnel. But that's a cool spider. And then tarantulas. You have to mention tarantulas because everybody wants to know about tarantulas. And tarantulas multiple times in their life. So they're in a different grouping of spiders altogether. They have those urticating hairs at the back of them. And those hairs actually have a little irritation in them. And that's another use for hairs, is that they can protect from a predator. And I think that you might have these on the Palos Verdes Peninsula. I think the males are out now. This is the time of year when the males are out looking for females, but otherwise they generally stay in their little dens. And spiders have predators. Wasps use spiders a lot. On the left, you can see this wasp is dragging one of our orb weavers away, and she will stun it. It'll still be alive, but she will be feeding that to her young. Mud daubers, you've probably seen that mud dauber and their mud dauber nests. One time I found one of the mud dauber nest, and I was curious, and I opened it up and I saw it was filled with spiders. And so these are some of the spiders that she uses to feed her young. And now that we love our spiders, we have these vicious predators. These horrible, vicious spiders that come and eat our spiders. That's one of those grass spiders. And I like to take pictures when I can identify the predator-prey relationships, and I can identify all the species in the picture. Oh, there it is. This is my favorite warbler. The black-throated gray is my favorite warbler. But it's eating one of my lynx spiders on the right, and it's eating one of the long-legged cellar spiders on the left. And you can find spiders under bark. And so the woodpecker, well, I think he's on a concrete post, but he found one of the spiders there. And the brown creeper which was a brown creeper in Long Beach, which is a cool thing because they're brown creepers are usually up in the mountains, but we had one there and it found one of those noble orb weavers. Spiders can fly. As when they're tiny, tiny spiderlings, you saw the spiderlings and how small they were. Some spiders will crawl away, but some will disperse by shooting a shoot of silk into the air, and it's called ballooning. That silk will get caught in the air, and it becomes part of what's called sky plankton. And in the sky, you've probably seen swifts and swallows. They're eating all the insects that are there, and some of those may be spiders that are ballooning to a new location. So hummingbird, here's a hummingbird, and it may be eating some of our spiders also, although probably these look more like mayflies or something like that. So that vicious predator. And hummingbirds, as well as other birds, use spider webs. This one is collecting spider webs, and they use them to build their nests. So they construct their nests. So if you like birds, then you have to like spiders, because without them, you wouldn't have the baby birds. So in conclusion, yeah, the black widow. Yeah, that's me. Not this year, but some years ago. As I will say, happy Halloween to everybody. I hope that you've gained an appreciation for the beauty and the diversity of spiders, and we'll look at them with interest next time, and instead of the reaction of where's my shoe. So that's it. Any other questions out in the chat area? I see that there's.
Yes. We have, is now a good time for chat questions?
Sure, yeah.
Great, okay. So Janet Gardner asks, can you explain more about spider eggs? They put them in an egg sac, and where do they put the egg sac? I've seen white fuzzy balls under the edge of my outdoor planters. Are these spider egg sacs or no?
That's likely, those are likely spider egg sacs. They put them like maybe in webs and corners. Again, it depends on the species. If it's a wolf spider, it's going to be carrying it. The lynx spider is going to have it with her. She's going to be protecting it in the vegetation. But a lot of spiders they don't like the dark. They want to stay in sheltered areas where the sun isn't going to hit them, because they don't want to be desiccated by the sun. And so their egg sacs they're going to put in a protected area. So if that answers it.
Okay. She also asked.
Oh wait, we have more. I'm sorry,
Sorry.
we have more questions here first. Okay.
She also. Okay. She also asked. I read that most spiders are very small and live in the substrate. Does that sound right?
Most spiders are very small, and I do see them on the ground and under logs and hiding from things.
Nice. Okay. Last question, also a comment from Janet as well. Great costume.
Thank you.
And her last question, can you, that's in the chat so far, is can you talk more about the life cycle of spiders?
Life cycle of spiders. Yeah, some spiders are multi-brooded where they'll have multiple broods, but a lot of spiders really only have a 1-year cycle. And that's why we see them now. We're seeing them come out, and the females get very large because they're gravid with eggs. And when they build their egg sac, they'll take the sperm that the male has given her, and when she lays the eggs, that's when she'll put the sperm with the eggs into the egg sac. And then they'll be in the egg sac. The babies will eventually emerge, and when the babies emerge, they disperse, and then they will go off on their own, and then eventually the males and females will get together after they molt multiple times to become sexually mature, and then get together again and repeat the cycle. Any other questions? Do females have pheromones? I don't know that spiders, yeah, I think some of them do. Some of them do by scent, but I don't know.
Well, I have found this has been a whole lot of fun because I've got a native garden and I see all kinds of weird spiders, and I just discovered where one of the things with the turquoise chelicera is living on it outside of a pot, and it has a little web and it crawls right into the. So I was talking about how I've learned about some of the spiders that live in my yard, and now I know, well, I know that the turquoise things are chelicera.
Yeah.
So that's what I can take home tonight. But I have a basket with fuchsias in it, and they have these little patches of web. And then I saw one day one of those things with the turquoise chelicera slip into it, and I realized, that's a beautiful spider. Don't mess with it.
Uh-huh. That's great. I'll take a look at it afterwards. Thank you. The question is, what is the impact of climate change on spider population? I think that question also applies to insects. How is it impacting it? Certainly the climate change impacts the vegetation, and the vegetation impacts what's there, and distribution of species. Specifically how it happens, I don't know. I'm sure that there's more research on it. I think there's more research on insects than on spiders, because spiders really don't have value to humans. Insects have tremendous value to humans, because whether they're used for pollinating crops or something like that, and more important, people are trying to protect their crops from insects, which is why crops have insects, because they came together. But that's a whole nother story. But there's a lot more research from an agricultural perspective on insects. And so the impact of climate change is going to be more studied for them.
So I'm going to say something about climate change. Its effects are very noticeable now and are going to become more profound. There's a problem though when you're dealing with small creatures like spiders and insects, or like the marine inverts, the crustacea. I had the opportunity to track certain species over time, and there's a lot of variability that is inherent with the populations, and teasing the natural variability in the populations apart from environmental impacts is hard. And the best example I have is a thing called a Tennaid. It kind of looks like a fancy isopod, but there are two local Tennaids that they look pretty similar, and they had Leptochelia and Leptonathia were the two different genera. And you'd be working up a sample, and I haven't seen that other one. Am I IDing these right? And then you go, oh, no, it's all this one. And then after a few years, you'd start getting the other one, the Leptonathia, instead of the Leptochelia. That was the natural variation in the population. It was before climate change began to have impacts. So studying climate change is a real challenge, because you have the natural variation, and then what variation is being pressed upon these various populations by climate change is going to be harder to deduce. So it's always a good thing to be thinking about it, but boy, oh boy, is it a challenge. I don't know if anything is really straightforward.
I'd like to wrap it up. This is Julian speaking. And one of the benefits of speaking in front of our group is that you get to have an honorarium, we call it. And I happen to bring it this time at the night of the presentation. So I'd like to award you with our $150. Some of that's going to go to gas to get here, I know, and back home, but there'll be some left over. Well, no, that's great. But I have a pointed question for you. Are you a member of the Audubon Society?
I have over the years been member of many different Audubon societies. So I have been a member of Pasadena, Sea and Sage.
Okay.
It used to be El Dorado before they kind of went away. So
Well, I'd like to present you with the latest edition of the Audubon magazine from the National Audubon Society as another gift. And I hope, as a treasurer, I hope that everybody within the sound of my voice is either a member or is thinking about becoming a member. And it's easy to become a member just by going to the website and looking up how to become a member. So please do so. We're going to be having our annual, what do we call it? Fund drive, holiday appeal. And the Christmas bird count will coincide with that in December. Well, hang on. Back to Ann.
First time I supported the Christmas bird count, I didn't. Biologists are notorious for being bad at math. You know, if you stop and think, you can work it through, and I can do that. But I said, oh, $10 a species, figuring they'd come up with 20 or 30. They had well over 100. It was a pretty big check that I wrote. And like, oh, wow, Anne's really into birds. And so here I am.
I run a January 1st event in Long Beach to find 100 species in Long Beach on January 1st. And we often make it.
Very good.
So there are a lot of, I'm a birder too.
I'm an ecologist. So thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoyed this. I did.
Thank you, Kim.